welcome back to another episode of A Coffee Corner. Today is your episode 102. So today I don't have any topic for this episode. I just want to kind of random chat about my life recently. Hope you won't get bored. First thing I want to talk about, of course, is my anxiety. I discovered a new concept about it, not like a concept. Why I have anxiety. Maybe this will help you a little bit if you kind of have the same experience. So every time I put my little one to sleep in that dark room, trying to, really get him to sleep, trying to get everything quiet, trying to not distract him, my anxiety level really goes up a lot. And I think in my mind, so here, of course, there are some nights or days that I'm quite peaceful, and I'm trying to just focus on myself. And then he actually goes to sleep pretty fast. But there are times that I'm really focusing on his sleep or I'm really focusing on him falling asleep. Then I get very anxious. And every single or any kind of tiny bit noise would trigger my anxiety. And I noticed the interesting thing. Every time when I'm not thinking about the result, I don't get very anxious about it. I feel like I'll just, go slow, I'll take it easy, I'll just go as it flows. And that's how I feel. And then normally, of course, babies sense our emotions pretty well. And then if you are anxious, if you're worried, or if you are sad, they can really sense it. So if I'm very calm and peaceful at that moment, he is very calm and peaceful and he can really fall asleep very, very fast. But when I'm thinking about getting him to sleep, when I'm thinking about keeping everything quiet, keeping the whole environment quiet, and he tends to get really anxious as well. And I realize here's the thing, here's my trick. Okay, hope this will help you. Here's my trick. When you don't expect the result you want, you just do your thing. And then you don't, like, I don't tend to have that much anxiety. So I tell myself, most of the time, I tell myself, you can plan things, but you can't plan consequences. You can't plan results. When you plan things, of course, you want to achieve what you really want, what you desire, but you can't get it sometimes. You can't, well, there's no guarantee you can get it. Even though you're doing everything 100% correctly, you can't get it, right? But the key is to keep doing the right thing. I will put the quote here. I really love the quote from The Hate to Give, the book. Then I tell myself every time when I'm planning things, I'm not planning the results. I will tell myself the bigger picture of the whole project. So this is what I really want, of course, but I can't really focus on the result I want. I need to focus on every single step I'm going to take. Okay, I just need to make sure everything I do is on the right track, but I can't control the result. When I think about that, I tend to be quite calm. But if I focus on the result I want, let's say take putting my baby to sleep as an example. If I think, okay, he's going to sleep soon, he will fall asleep, then I'll exit the room and then I'll start to do my own thing. Let's say I have a plan after he goes to sleep. I need to clean the house, I need to do my Pilates, I need to read a book, or I want to go on my phone, just random scrolling my phone or something like that. So those are the plans I wanted to achieve after he goes to sleep. So my goal is, of course, to put him to sleep really fast. When he doesn't go to sleep really fast, I am very anxious about it and I tend to get really mad at him and myself. And when there are noises around the house, around the whole environment, I tend to get mad at everybody, anyone, anything that makes noises. And that's how I get my anxiety level really up to the ceiling. And I realize next time when I do things, I'm just gonna tell myself, this is the optimum result I want to achieve. Can I get it or not? I can't really guarantee. And I am not planning anything after the result, which means I'm not gonna have a future plans after the current project. Once I finish the current project, and then I can start to plan future things. So I don't know if this is going to apply to you or to your situation, but this is how I really calm myself down when it comes to putting him to sleep. It's very, very critical for me. And now when I go to his room, when I put him to his crib, I will remind myself just focus on myself, not him, not the sleep itself. I'm going to focus on myself, be very calm by meditating, by thinking about my own world, by thinking about something that in the future I want to do, not near future, in the very far future I want to do, or thinking about the story I read yesterday or this morning, thinking about the TV show I watched last night, or something like that. Try to find something to distract you in that dark moment, because in that kind of environment, in that kind of room, it's easy for you to really laser focus on one thing that you're desperate to achieve. Don't do that, because once you do that, you're going to get really anxious. You're going to get really nervous about whether that thing is going to go smooth or not. So, that is my trick about anxiety thing. So, I really learned that concept of stuff. I like it. And next time when I plan things, because and if you know me, I like to plan things step by step, and I like to have a very predictable result. So if I do A and I'll get B for sure, and when I do A and I can't get B and I get mad, and not emotionally stable. I really don't want to do that, especially around my family. I want to be the calm one. I want to be emotionally stable so I can have a better relationship with anyone, everyone. That's how I figure out a solution to my anxiety. So every time when you or when I plan things, I want to plan things for the current project. I want to tell myself the optimum result I want to achieve is this, but I can't guarantee I will achieve that. That's okay. The worst scenario will be like this. That's what we say, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And I find myself quite calm now. Another funny thing is sometimes he goes to sleep, sometimes he really fights. And I of course got frustrated because I have my plans, right? You're supposed to go to sleep and then I can start to cook, or I can start to clean the house, or I can start to, plan my videos or something. I also have plans after he goes to sleep. And that makes me very, very anxious when he doesn't. And then I get mad. And then when he cries, and of course I just want to I just want to yell. I just want to scream. Why are you crying? Just go to sleep. And of course, you can't do that. And then now I have plan B, right? So I will tell myself before I go into the room with him and start the whole process, I will tell myself, okay, here's the time I gave to myself. By 3:20, if he doesn't go to sleep, he needs a nap. This is very important. If he doesn't go to sleep, that's fine. I can take him for a stroll and he can nap in the stroller. And that's the worst scenario I can get from that situation. At least he can fall asleep in a stroller, right? So I tend to tell myself, have plan B, have plan C, have plan D. You might not get to the point, but when you have that, you are not really focused on the only plan or only solution you have there, and you don't feel too desperate. When you feel too desperate, and your anxiety is going to arrive soon, right? So that's how I figure out anxiety at that moment. Another thing I want to talk about is negative emotion. I think I wanted to make a short video about how to address negative emotions, or when you have that, what are you going to do? I forgot what kind of shows I was watching, and then somehow I got inspired by the show. And I said, I want to do this episode. I even took a note on my phone to remind myself I'm going to do this series. I think for a lot of people, when we have negative emotions or feelings, our first reaction, or my first reaction, is to deny it, to reject the existence of those negative emotions. And it makes everything worse. It's like I'm calling you, hey, you did something bad. And you're going to say, no, I did not. At that moment, you feel ashamed of yourself making that mistake. You feel ashamed of yourself being called out in that situation. Same thing applies to your negative emotions or feelings. Is when you notice you have the negative feelings or emotions, you tend to feel ashamed of that situation. You're telling yourself, I'm not supposed to have those negative feelings, because having those negative feelings make you weak, make you feel uncomfortable. It just makes you feel like the person you don't want to be. And then that's why people, or I, tend to deny my negative emotions. But then I figure out a way to help myself get out of the negative emotions and feelings, or even negative situations, or the whole vibe there, is to acknowledge that. Acknowledge the existence of whatever emotions or feelings there. I will say right now, at this moment, I feel really mad at Bob because he doesn't listen to me, because he always does those walkabouts, and I just feel really furious. And I acknowledge that. And afterwards, I will tell myself, or I will ask myself, why do you feel furious about it? Because it doesn't listen to me. Of course, why does that matter to you? because when he doesn't listen to me and I feel like everything is out of control, when everything is out of control, I feel I'm such a loser. That's why I feel so mad at him. So basically, I'm actually mad at myself, not him, but I can't really reflect on that emotions at that moment. So I take out the anger on him, which is very common for the generation of our parents. When they get mad and when they get frustrated, that they take out their anger on us. But that's how I learned about negative emotions. Next time when you have negative emotions, feelings, try to write it down and see if that's going to help you a little bit. When you write down your emotions, recognize this is my emotion, this is my feeling, this is my thought, and are they related? Why they are associated? When they're associated, there's a connection, and find a connection, cut it. You want to disconnect your thought with your feelings, which is really interesting because your feelings will make you think too much. And when you think too much, you will have excessive feelings, and your excessive feelings will definitely affect your mood. And that's how I learned about the whole acknowledging the negative emotions. And I learned a lot, and I'm trying to fit everything in this video. That's why I'm talking a little bit faster. Hope you don't mind. The next thing I want to mention is about the short series about how to. I've had 2 episodes of it. First one is how to deal with jealousy. Second one is how to deal with, I forgot. I will put that name here. Anyway, I think, you always want to try something different. In the very, very early episode, one of the very early episodes, I talked about desired learning difficulties, and you want to kind of create some difficulty for yourself when you learn something. Because when you learn something easily, you get bored, right? You can acquire that, you know how to do it, but you get bored. And when you learn something really difficult, that's way beyond your level, and you get scared and you get discouraged because you say, "Oh, I can't do this," right? And you want to have a little bit difficulty there that will help you, or that will motivate you, or that will challenge you to do a little bit more, to acquire that, to achieve that goal, and that will really help you learn everything or do everything faster. And that's how I tell myself I want to do those short videos, because I'm very talkative and I'm not a logical person. When it comes to explaining things, I tend to kind of go off topic sometimes, when I talk about this and I'll use an example and then go way off the topic and then come back and I totally forget about my ideas, or totally forget about my concept that I wanted to talk about in the video. So that's why I say, hey, I'm going to use those short videos to help myself train my brain to explain things in a very simple language and within a short time. So that's what I want to do with the videos. And some of people saying I love the subtitle. Some people saying I hate it. It is really difficult to kind of tailor everything for everybody because everyone has a different taste, but that's fine. I do like one comment on subtitles. It says he's listening or she's listening to the video without looking at the subtitles, and once she or he identifies the word she can't really recognize, he will pause and then look at I said, okay, it's pronounced differently. And then he learn or she learns that way. I said, that's a very different perspective, very new way to, use subtitles. So that's why I keep doing those funny subtitles there. If you don't really like it, that's fine. I'm doing my best. Anyway, so far everything is pretty good. I feel like I'm kind of getting back on my own track. I've been having more time with Bob, and I try my best to take care of him like what I used to. It is very difficult. It's like you have 2 kids, you want to kind of be equal, but it's always very difficult. Nobody wants equality. Oh, maybe okay, that's a too much. Let's not make that claim. In the family, people don't want equality. People want preference. They want to be the preferred one, right? So Bob, of course, wants to be the attention. I will say when I have treats, I'll give one to him, give one to my baby. And he probably is fine, but if he's a person, he's going to be like, I don't care about treats like that. I want you to give the special treatment. I want you to give me the special attention, right? So everybody wants to be treated specially. I think that's why I'm trying to figure out a way to spend a little bit more time. Even in front of my baby, I want to treat him differently, treat him more. And I love him so much, and he's the only one. So I'm trying my best. to do that. And then I think I've been doing pretty good job so far. Yeah, I think he's getting closer to me after I have my baby. So that's what I want to talk about, those kind of things. And another thing is soon next month, by the end of next month, I'm going to go back to work. I don't know if I can keep up with this posting schedule, once a week or something like that. But I will definitely try my best because I really love it. I don't want to give up my hobby. And also, I'm learning new things. Currently, I'm learning French. Learning French has taught me really interesting thing, new perspective. I already forgot how I learned English, but I was definitely a really bad English learner. My English was never good. My pronunciation, my accent were really funny. I got laughed at about those kind of things. And now I came this far and I forgot about grammar, how I learned grammar. And sometimes when people ask me how you do this or why is that, I said, I don't know, it is what it is. And then I start to learn German when I was in university. I think English has taught me how to learn another language. And then learning German helped me learn English, which is really funny. My English got really better after I learned German. And I really like the language. It's very, very logical. As long as you figure out a pattern, it's actually not that difficult. And I remember my professor told me that you should do a postgraduate program about German. I didn't have confidence in that back then, but now I feel like I should have done that. But now learning French has taught me a new perspective of learning a language as my second language. I really like it. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out my own pattern of the grammar by repeating the same thing. So let's say currently I'm on present tense, talking about places. You go to places, they have an irregular verb. I think it's a va and va, right? So it's je va or tu vas or elle va or il va or something like that. But they have different spellings. And I will remind myself, okay, with the first person, je, it's like this. With the third person like that, they're similar. And then with the second person, there's S in the end of the word, but they all pronounce the same. So you have to really figure out the pattern of grammar by yourself. In that way, you learn way better instead of just copying what you're taught there. That's very important because I'm, self-taught now. Whatever things you're learning right now, try to figure out a pattern by yourself. It is really important. The way you have learned, the tips you have, the patterns, the structures you have, those are your things and you will remember them really, really well. And that's your own way. And somebody can copy it, but nobody can take it away from you. That is very important. That's what we call the acquisition. Right? So that's the tips I learned from learning a language. And also another thing I learned from learning language now is always learn something new. It can be something you want to try, you want to challenge yourself. It can be something that you've always been interested in since you were little. And starting now, you don't have to go really crazy. You don't have to invest a lot of money or you don't have to buy an instrument you want to learn. Find something that you can afford. Find something that's more economical for yourself and start doing that. And you will find the meaning of life. It's very full of fun. I would say that. Sometimes I would tell myself, why am I doing this? I feel like there's no meaning of my life. Is it just gonna keep going like this, take care of my child and have a family, and then till the end I'm old and I die or something like that? But in this journey, if you start to pick up some new things, if you start to learn some new things, you'll find very interesting and challenge myself, acquire that. And I'm awesome. And then you move on, you learn another thing. But everything you learn on the way to the end of your life is your treasure, right? You have that. Nobody can take it away from you. That's the most important thing. Nobody can take it away from you. Your kids will leave you, your husband might die, or your partner might leave you, or something like that. Eventually, you're going to be by yourself. And what you have that cannot be taken away is your memory, your stories, your learning skills, and everything you possess inside of your brain, inside of your body, and that's what you want to have. To be able to have that, you need to keep learning. And learning new things will keep you young, refreshing, and energetic. And I really like it and I enjoy it. And I feel like I'm becoming a really better person of myself. You know what I mean? And so that's why I really want to do this video to just kind of point out how I feel about my recent life. Hopefully, it's not too boring and hopefully you like it. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe and leave a comment if you have any ideas, any thoughts you want to share with me. Don't hesitate. In English, in Chinese, in whatever language, I can learn your language. If you want to try me, I will see you there. Take care and stay tuned. Bye.